family's about to get wild. We've got true crime tales and a mischievous smile. More life chaos, the highs and the lows, laughing through the madness. Anything goes. It's talk time with Amy Boston and Kelly Farrell. Fun nights and stories we're telling. Everyone's welcome. Grab your drink, come run. We love true crime, real life and fun, and free care and rejoice. Interviews, confessions, and a little bit of sass. Laughing till we're breathless, letting troubles pass. Among squad missions to mysteries at night. Grab your crew, settle in, it's a wild ride. It's talk time with Amy Boston and Kelly Farrell. Fun nights and stories we're telling. Everyone's welcome. Grab your drink, come run. He love true crime, real life and fun. Hey! It's free care y'all. Guys, talk time with Amy Boston and Kelly Free Karen Reed.
Hey kids, it's good to see everybody.
Yeah, and it's Monster.
Can everybody hear us?
Do you want to come to my house anytime?
No.
You can play trucks.
What do you say to the subscribers?
Like and subscribe to Mommy's YouTube channel, and you like and subscribe to your own channel.
Yes. All right. We're getting things started right tonight. All right, Mommy needs some privacy.
Okay.
All right. Hey kids. I see. Yeah, go next. Listen, you know I love you, boo, but oh, noodles. Yeah, I came in. I know. So it's really cute. His grandmother surprised him today with a Monster Jam shirt, and it says crushed breast cancer with a truck in the middle with someone driving it, and there's like pink ribbons all over it, and he is sporting it with such pleasure. So I couldn't have been more happy today. I hope everybody a happy Farrell Friday, kids. We are here. Unfortunately, Nikki is not here today. I mean, Kelly's not here today. She's going through some stuff with her son, and she's at a hospital. So we are here, and you got me, kids. You got me. So, and him, my sidekick, although he won't be here listening to what we're talking about because the stuff we're talking about is pretty heavy. Look at him. He's giving his chicken wings. All right, hold on one second. I just gotta get him out of the room. Hold on. All right, kids, we are back. Hi, kindergarten. Hi, Scotty. Oh, it's my Kelly baby. I miss you tonight, but you have far greater things to do. And I love you, and I love Liam and Declan. You know that. And let me know what you want. You know what I'm saying? I sent you that text earlier, and I meant it. Yeah, he loves monster trucks, like loves them. Oh, is we at a Tar Heel right now? I didn't. Oh, my beautiful Alabama Slammer sisters here. Oh, and Kate Sharp. Good to see you, baby. Who else? Oh, we have Patrick. Hi, making changes. I'm happy you're here. Lots of news. All right, well, let's just get cranking. I just kind of want to like go up on my soapbox for a few minutes. We're gonna be delving into some like really heavy topics. I'm gonna start out with the hearing of Brian Walsh, where they're trying to exclude all of his Google searches. I know this was supposed to be about Diddy, but this came into my life, and I was like, because we know all the players in this. And what's sad is everything that we're going to be talking about has to do with abuse, right? Diddy has nothing to do with hip hop. It has nothing to do with rappers. It has nothing to do with any of that of just a man with some really, really bad behavior to women. And it's unfortunate. And, you're going to see John Fanning testifying in the Brian Walsh hearing along with Bukkake, and knowing what those people did to Sandra Birchmore. And then you think about Brian Walsh. All of these people had really bad behavior before the worst stuff started, and getting indicted with the feds and ending up in prison, or cops covering up for people who are assaulting women. When you are a woman and you're being groomed and tortured by someone that you think you love, it is so crushing, and it changes you forever. And I always say that if you see abuse with young kids, with women, with men, it happens. There's some crazy ass bitches that do that shit to men. It is all alike, and it's so crushing and changes people forever. Like, these people might be, Diddy or Puff Daddy Sean Combs. He's a celebrity, and him being a celebrity doesn't make him the predator that he is. He's just a fucking predator. And I have some, he was likely abused as a kid and perpetuated what he saw, going on and on. And, I really suggest, in my opinion, set good examples for your children. Women, stop allowing your kids to see you being abused by a man. There's tons of men out there that will treat you right. We've all gotten stuck with, I don't know if it was all, I'll speak for myself. I've gotten stuck with some really, really shady shit men. I didn't know they were shady at first, right? And then you fall in love and you start seeing who they are. Leopards don't change their spots. And all of the things that they've talked about in the Sean Combs trial has been graphic and horrible over a decade. And people will ask, like, why didn't they leave? Like, why didn't Walsh's wife leave? How, in a woman's mind, it's like a complicated thing. You love them, but you don't love how they treat you. And you hope every day that they're going to change. It doesn't matter if you're a celebrity, you're pretty, you're ugly, you're fat, you're thin, you're black, you're white. These people, there's non-discriminant, right? And I people may not have been on a Diddy level of abuse where there's like all of that coming in. I don't know how much of it is true, but I do know I've seen enough to know that he's a bad man. Okay, not all rappers are bad men. Hip hop, there are people out there that treat women with absolute respect and would never, ever, ever, ever stand for that. And Staff, the Walsh wife, she told people what was going on in her situation. And I always say, as a 40-year-old woman who has been through some shit in life, if you see something, say something. Don't be that guy that turns their face, because it can end up in an Anna Walsh situation. You can end up being tortured and so broken, you are never going to be the same. These people are humans, regardless of what stature they hold or what neighborhood they came from, or if they're homeless and in drugs. No one deserves to be tortured and abused and treated like fucking trash. So I'm going to get off my soapbox because I'm about to get ratchet. Watching through these stuff. I just wanted to make the disclaimer that, it has nothing to do with the industry that they're in or whatever. And I personally believe that Puffy saw a lot of shit as a child that probably created him to be a fucking predator. He would have been a predator whether he was a billionaire or not. It was just easier, It's just easier. And women fall in love, and then their heart and head can't come to a decision. And so you're in a constant battle of complication. And how do I change him? Blackbirds don't change their spots. So, seek therapy, sleep, go get some therapy. There are a lot of bad men, and even women, if you have not been treated this badly, like Diddy badly, there are lesser ways that are just as damaging. And coming from a woman who has been in a bad relationship or two, it is what it is, and you got to find your way out. And like I always say, like, women, get out of relationships. Don't allow your children to see you be abused. Teach your sons to respect women regardless. Right? I'm not blaming parents, but I kind of am. In a lot of these situations, they're like giving fucking parental guidance to to celebrities. They have no idea who they are. They just want their kids to be a star. Like, not worth it. Like, my kids don't even go into to Cub Scouts, okay? Because your girl is just like not about that life. I know too much. But yeah, okay, so now I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Yes, Nikki, abuse is abuse, girl. Abuse is abuse. I can't find there it is. Abuse is abuse, no matter what level. And it will crush your soul, whether you're a woman or a man. It will change you forever. Cassie Ventura is changed forever. And every other person that has been abused. Anna Walsh is no longer with us because of a man that abused her. Right? And then we're going to watch. I have something pulled up to watch about, we have Bukkake and Fanning and all of them testifying in a hearing for Brian Walsh. And if you don't know who Brian Walsh is, he is from Massachusetts and his wife has never been found. It's thought to be that she was incinerated at his mother's apartment in like Swansea or something. And that wasn't the first day of abuse. I guarantee you that, because she told friends and she, kind of tried to cover for him, but then they get in a fight and she wouldn't. And no one said anything. I came from like a hood that like, you mind your business. You don't call the cops when you hear in your, people screaming next door and whatever. But in my 40s, like, if you see something, say something, because it could change someone's life. It could save them for years of torture and misery. So I'm going to get off my soapbox and start getting ratchet, because we're going to start watching some Bukkake and some fucking crazy bullshit that I'm going to talk about. But I just want to get that out of the thing. These guys, also the people who have investigated Karen Reed, Anna Walsh, they also investigated Sandra Birchmore, who was groomed by people who were supposed to help her for over a decade. Then because they SA'd her, like, sexual trafficking isn't like what you think it is. Sexual trafficking is literally sending a person from one place with the intent to have sex. That's it. It's organized sexual assault is what sex trafficking is. And I think that the definitions, like, words matter, right? Stop calling it a freak off. That sounds spicy and sexy. And like, if you are consenting as adults, like, listen, I don't shame kink shame whatsoever. Cause like, people are into their own thing, but it all has to be consensual. It all has to be like, you have to want to do it, and not to want to do it to make someone else happy. That's forcing you to do it. Right. And so, all right, I'm gonna have my soapbox, and now we're gonna start the show. Who is ready to watch this? Oh my God, Prozac's here. Oh my God, Hubugga. Hi, baby. I wasn't watching chat. We got Scotty, Hubugga, Drew K. Hi, Mama. We got everybody. All right. Oh, and Kev. Hey. All right. Well, let's get ratchet up in this bitch. All right. So do you guys want to start with Brian Walsh? I thought that was a good place because we got Bukapi and Fanning and just all their bullshit and all apparently celebrate his rights when it comes to Brian Walsh. So that's interesting. All right. Let's go. Let's go. Share screen.
How to embalm a body, how to get rid of a body, numerous searches related to that.
Someone's internet search history has once again landed them in serious hot water, with a Massachusetts father standing accused of killing his wife. But the defense wants the judge to keep those incriminating searches away from a jury. We were in court for Brian Walsh's latest hearing. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey, real quick, I want to thank OneSkin for sponsoring today's episode of Sidebar. Let's be honest, being on camera as much as I am, having the right skincare products matters. And our skin, it changes. Tell them that we sent you. Walsh never returned home from a supposed work trip at the beginning of 2023. Her husband, Brian Walsh, became a suspect in her disappearance. Within days, he would be under arrest, accused of not only killing Anna, but of dismembering her. And law enforcement in Cohasset, Massachusetts says Walsh's own internet search history could put him behind bars for a very long time.
Amen.
But now Walsh's defense team is trying to have that evidence tossed out before Walsh goes to trial in front of a jury. And I got to give you a little bit of backstory here to understand why this is so big. So Anna, who's originally from Serbia, lived in Cohasset, Massachusetts with her husband, Brian, and their 3 children. She worked in Washington, D.C., commuted back and forth. The family had reportedly celebrated New Year's Eve with a family friend when she was allegedly called to a work emergency on New Year's Day, and she was never seen again. When she stopped showing up for work, her employer was the one who actually first reported her missing. So then an officer went to the Walsh home to perform a wellness check, and her husband said he hadn't heard from her since she left for D.C. And that is when disturbing details started to emerge. Because Walsh apparently made several disturbing Google searches, which led police to believe Anna was dead. Law enforcement also discovered that Walsh had lied to them about where he'd been in the days between January 1st, when Anna was reportedly last seen, and January 4th, when Cohasset police performed that wellness check. Walsh was arrested on January 18th, and despite Anna's body never being found, he was indicted on charges of murder, misleading a police investigation, and improper conveyance of a human body, meaning police believe that Walsh somehow disposed of Anna once she was dead. And during an early court hearing back in 2023, the prosecutor read some of those internet searches that Walsh had apparently made after Anna's disappearance, read them aloud for the court. A doozy, to say the least.
What I'd like to do now is just describe his actions in the days from January 1st. The defendant indicated on January 1st at 3 p.m. he did some errands and went to his mother's house in Swampscott, but got lost because he didn't have his phone. He said he knew he was lost when he saw a pirate ship on Route 1. Defendant stayed 15 minutes, then went to Whole Foods and CVS. Surveillance was checked and he did not enter either of those stores. On January 1st, defendant Googled using his son's iPad. Some of the searches are as follows. Keep in mind that the defendant said he left at 6 a.m. At 4:55 a.m. on January 1st, he searched how long before a body starts to smell. At 4:58 a.m., how to stop a body from decomposing. At 5:20 a.m., he searched how to embalm a body. At 5:47 a.m., 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to. At 6:25 a.m. on the 1st, how long for someone to be missing to inherit. At 6:34 a.m. on the 1st, can you throw away body parts? At 9:29 a.m., what does formaldehyde do? At 9:34 a.m. on the 1st, how long does DNA last? At 9:59 a.m., can identification be made on partial remains? At 11:34 a.m., dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. At 11:44, how to clean blood from wooden floor. At 11:56 on the first, luminol to detect blood. At 1:08, what happens when you put body parts in ammonia? At 1:21 p.m., is it better to throw crime scene clothes away or wash them? Those are on the January 1st. There was also information gained from the defendant's phone, which showed on January 2nd, he was at Home Goods in Norwell, where he purchased 3 rugs. There were also more Google searches on January 2nd. At 12:45 p.m., hacksaw best tool to dismember. At 1:10 p.m., can you be charged with murder without a body? At 1:14 p.m., can you identify a body with broken teeth?
Such damning information.
Broken
Such damning
teeth?
evidence. And according to an affidavit of probable cause, Walsh was also spotted on a surveillance camera at Home Depot. This apparently was a shopping trip that he never mentioned to police. The affidavit indicates he was wearing a black surgical mask and blue surgical gloves and made a cash purchase. Investigators later determined he spent $450 on things like cleaning supplies. Authorities say they found the Walsh's DNA along with a COVID vaccine card for Anna, some of her clothes, a hacksaw, cutting shears, and a hatchet in trash bags in a dumpster, apparently across the street from Walsh's mother's condo complex. In fact, the surveillance photo was discovered from January 3rd showing someone wearing a face mask throwing away what appeared to be heavy bags. And then a bloody, damaged knife was also reportedly found in the basement of the Walsh home. Now, despite all...
Okay, I just want to pause it here for fair use, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. Under these circumstances, I'm going to tell you that this man, this was not the first time he put his hands on her. They call like crimes of passion and things like that. I would be shocked if there was not DV calls to the house. And it breaks my heart that they have children that had to witness this. And now they lost two of their parents. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And like, I hate to say this, but being a girl who has been in some tumultuous situations with people, women, stop allowing your children to see you be abused, right? Because it affects your children. It's one of the reasons I don't ever introduce my son to anybody, because they can disappoint me, but they're not going to disappoint my children. And I want to see my son with someone that treats me right. I'm not saying that like I'm all the end all be all. This is just like coming from my heart and like a place of care. Leopards don't change their spots. And if it happens once, it's going to happen again. And this man is sickening. And as we go through this, you're going to realize that they're trying to get all those Google searches thrown out. Because why? Karen Reed celebrates shit is coming into question is wrong. So how are you going to say that one case is wrong, but the one next door, nope, celebrate is the keystone of everything. So let's keep going. I just need to talk shit.
All this apparent evidence, Walsh has entered a not guilty plea. He's been behind bars with no bail ever since. He faces life in prison if he's convicted. But now we got to talk about what's happening. Okay, so with Walsh's trial that's expected to start in October, his defense team, and arguably one of their best moves that they should be doing, is to make sure as little in this case thrown out, including the electronic device extraction that uncovered those chilling, eerie Google searches.
Okay, I'm going to stop.
So you had a 2-day evidential.
Okay. Noodles, I totally agree. Okay. I totally agree. It's kind of like one of those things like with Diddy and like with anyone, people are like, why didn't she just leave? And it's been my experience that you meet somebody who you're like, wow, this guy's great. And then all of a sudden, the belittling you, telling you that like you're not enough or making you feel that way, like there's something wrong with you, you're not pretty enough, you're not, thin enough, you're not this, you're not that, like you're not. And they do that to belittle you, right? And then they start putting their hands on you to establish like a property of you, like people conflate property and possession with love, and in my opinion that's not love. And I do know from personal experience, it's hard to get out of those situations because it's complicated. Your heart tells you one thing and your head tells you another. A lot of times you want to stay for kids, you're thinking that he's going to change. Unless they get extensive mental treatment, it will continue and get worse. Look what happened with Anna Walsh. It's disgusting. It's horrible what happened to her. And if you see something, say something. These people, listen, people who touch kids, it's usually the people that you know. Keep them safe. You know what I mean? Keep them safe. Narcissists and sociopaths have a way of getting your heart and then starting to treat you like absolute garbage to make you feel that way. And just know that you fucking matter, and it's their insecurities. It's them. It's not you. It's not you. All right, let's keep going.
Evidentiary hearing that was held this week with the prosecution and the defense making arguments in front of a judge. So several investigators who worked on Anna Walsh's missing person case and subsequently her murder investigation, they were called to testify. And according to Cohasset police, Anna was last seen at work on December 29th, then last seen by the family friend at the New Year's Eve get-together. Walsh had apparently told police that Anna had got up early to travel to D.C. for this apparent work emergency, saying she took an Uber or a Lyft to the airport like usual. But despite that being Walsh's story, an officer testified that her cell phone last pinged the following day, January 2nd, 2023, around 3 a.m, a quarter mile from the Walsh home. Investigators also discovered that the airline that Anna supposedly used, no record of her flying to or from D.C. Officer Gregory Lawrence was the first to interact with Walsh and updated the court on how the investigation even got started.
Who did you meet there at that residence?
Okay, here's one
Brian
of the Mass
Can you
State Police.
explain to me what happened when you got to the house
County.
that day?
I exited my cruiser and he met me at the doorway and said that he wanted to report his wife missing and file a police report with the Cohasset Police.
And what was his demeanor like when you saw him at the doorway?
Very calm.
Now, this initial interaction with Mr. Walsh, was it recorded?
No, it was not.
Why wasn't it recorded?
Cohasset Police did not have body-worn cameras at that time.
And so what had he told you he had done to try and locate his wife at this point in time?
He told me that he had tried texting her and he did contact his employer, her employer.
And what did he tell you as far as the last time he had seen his wife?
It would be Sunday morning, January 1st, 2023, between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7 a.m.
Did he say where she was going after that point?
She had a work emergency and had to go back to Washington, D.C.
Did he say how she was going to leave the home that day?
She was going to take either an Uber or a Lyft.
And head to where, sir?
Logan Airport.
Sergeant Harrison Schmidt was next to take the stand, and he explained that he was involved in coordinating a search for Anna and went to the Walsh home on the evening of January 4th to do an interview with Brian Walsh. And at this point, this is still a missing persons case, okay? So Sergeant Schmidt told the court that he and another officer walked around the home with Walsh looking for anything that might point to how or why Anna had gone missing. And Sergeant Schmidt testified that while they didn't search the attic at the time, they did do a search of the backyard pool, which the sergeant said was uncovered and full of water despite it being January. The fire department even helped shine spotlights into the pool. They even drained it, thinking maybe Anna had, fallen in somehow, but they didn't find anything. So back to Sergeant Schmidt. He also noted something odd about a Volvo at the home.
What car did you look at?
There's a Volvo XC90.
And did you get any permission to look at that car?
Yes.
And who'd you get the permission from?
Mr. Walsh.
And what did you notice about the Volvo?
In the trunk, the trunk was lined with like plastic sheeting.
And so you were able to open it at this point in time?
Yes.
Now, sir, fast forwarding to January 5th, which was a Thursday, what did you do to try and locate Miss Walsh that day?
I did a lot that day.
Let me just go back for a second.
I apologize.
There was I'll do this from time to time. There was a
Sure.
plastic sheet, you said lining the rear area.
Yes.
Is that a trunk or is it more like an open area in the rear of an SUV?
The trunk area is a SUV with a hatch.
Mm-hmm.
So the trunk area, not the seating area.
Okay, thanks. Go
So
ahead.
not like a sedan though, which would have a separate distinct trunk. It has access to the seats.
Correct. If the seats would fold down, you could go from the trunk into the back row.
Okay.
So I'll call it a traditional SUV configuration.
Yes. Yes,
All
Your
right.
Honor.
And we learned that during a later visit to the home, police searched the attic, but they didn't find anything suspicious. Investigators also said that the plastic liner that was originally noted as being in the rear of the SUV.
Can I just say really quickly, Anna was a 10 for this motherfucker. All right. Like he should have been so grateful. He even pulled an Anna Walsh. Like she was doing her thing. She was more successful than him. He has so many charges for selling fake, like really high expensive paintings from a very prestigious like painter, and he sold fake ones, and he was on house arrest at the time for that. His father is actually like a really well established Boston surgeon, and basically told this motherfucker to pound sand, because why wouldn't you? You know what I'm saying? Why wouldn't you? He had a 10 because that's the best he ever would have got. Putting it out there.
That was now gone. Sergeant Schmidt told the court that investigators questioned Brian Walsh about whether Anna might have taken her own life or abandoned the family.
During that interview, what did he say that his normal contact would be with his wife, Anna Walsh, while she was working in Washington?
A daily contact.
During the interview, did you have the opportunity to ask him whether or not Anna was contemplating suicide?
Yes.
And what was his response to that?
She wouldn't do that.
What, if anything, did he say she was unhappy about?
Stress from work and distance.
And was he asked about extramarital affairs on either side?
Yes.
What did he say?
Neither of them had extramarital affairs.
Did you ask,
Suspect.
or was he asked on whether or not, if they had had an argument the morning she left January 1?
Yes.
What was his response?
There wouldn't have been enough time that morning.
What do you say the biggest argument they had had recently was?
She
That's a
had
good
2
point.
weeks, 2-week vacation scheduled, and instead of coming home, she was in Belgrade visiting her mother.
Now, did he say what was causing stress in their relationship at this point in time?
Yes.
What was causing stress?
The distance, being away from the children.
And in addition to the distance, were there any other stressors in the relationship?
Prior legal issues.
So he told you that he had another criminal matter going on?
Yes.
That's right. Walsh was already up to his neck in legal issues, this time in federal court. Back in 2021, nearly 2 years before Anna was reported missing, Walsh had entered a guilty plea to multiple fraud charges for selling 2 fake Andy Warhol paintings. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Massachusetts, a buyer found a listing on eBay for 2 abstract Warhol paintings that were part of his Shadow series. And there was a photo of an invoice for the paintings with Warhol Foundation numbers and a purchase price of $240,000. The paintings were listed on eBay for $100,000. The buyer managed to get them $80,000. It's a steal. But when he got the paintings, the buyer quickly figured out they were fakes.
That's a fact.
These are the real ones. These are the fakes. He tried to contact Walsh, who at first wouldn't respond, and then made excuses for why he couldn't refund the buyer's money. So after Walsh pleaded guilty as he awaited sentencing, he was on house arrest. He was only allowed to leave the house during certain times, had to notify federal authorities if he did so, And authorities were then able to track his phone if need be to make sure he was where he was supposed to be. But Walsh claimed in the early days after his wife's disappearance, his son had hidden his phone, that he couldn't find it. So the authorities would just have to trust that he went where he said that he did, okay? And they didn't, uncovering evidence that Walsh allegedly lied about his whereabouts using things like store security video. But for the fraud case, Walsh was sentenced in 2024 to 37 months in prison for each count, ordered to pay $475,000 in restitution. But back to this evidentiary hearing, okay? I want to talk about this. So Sergeant Schmidt testified about this strange email that investigators received that was a purported ransom demand.
During this interview, did anyone ask him about the name Richard Walker?
Yes,
Who asked about Richard Walker?
Trooper DeChico.
And did he know Richard Walker?
No.
What was the significance to you at this point in time of the name Richard Walker?
I had received an email.
You guys are
with a ransom
savages,
request
and I love
from
every minute of it.
an email address with the name Richard Walker.
And when had you received this email in relation to the interview that you were conducting with the defendant at this point in time on January 7th?
Before.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Sergeant, I'm showing you a copy of a document. Do you recognize that?
Yes,
Is that the email you received from with the name Richard Walker attached to it?
it is.
The Commonwealth would seek to have this marked as the next exhibit. It's in the binder, Your Honor, and before I try and admit it twice, it's Exhibit 9.
Thank you. Any objection?
No objection.
I should probably stop this and let you guys know that this is a hearing that they just had, and it is to suppress all of the Google searches that he made on his kids' iPads of how to embalm a body, how to get rid of a body, when does the body start to stink, all of his bullshit fucking Google searches they're trying to get thrown out. And I believe it's because of the team who investigated this. Let's take a stab in the dark of who was the investigators and why they're trying to get this fucking shit thrown out. I'll name a couple. We have Bukkake coming up. We have fucking Fanning coming up, and Garino coming up. And I hope they're like, are you guys the investigators for Karen Reed? Because y'all suck. And that's probably what's going to make this come. Oh, we have a Mary Bagwell in the house. Hey, Mama. It's good to see you. All right, let's keep going. Sorry.
Objection. Did you read the body of the email?
We have the so named Anna Walsh with us here. We had a deal worth $127,000. She messed up. We have her here with us, and if she doesn't pay the money, then she'll never be back. And we know that the police and the FBI are involved. Good luck finding us.
I'm going to have that back, sir. Besides Trooper DeChico mentioning that name once, was there any further discussion of Richard Walker or the substance or even the substance of the email?
No.
According to police, they were suspicious of this ransom demand because it didn't mention anything about where to send the money or even a deadline to do it. Massachusetts State Police, they were also involved in the Walsh investigation. And you had Sergeant Yuri Buchanek testified that he spoke with Walsh's mother, Diana, who said her son had looked into hiring a private investigator to find Anna. And the trooper also spoke with the eldest child, who was 6 at the time, about the last time he saw his mother.
What did the oldest child tell you about about what he remembers of the last time he saw his mother, Anna Walsh?
What the child stated was that the last time he saw his mother was surrounded around the event.
He fucking knows English here. It's clearly a better language than he was saying in the Karen retrial. He's like, this is my third language. Fuck off.
Of him hearing a noise, waking up, coming downstairs, and seeing her on the couch underneath his blanket, which he left in the room overnight. She was dressed in a set of pink pajamas with red hearts. And as he was walking by the kitchen island, he saw his iPad. He picked up the iPad, recognized that it was malfunctioning or broken, not working properly, and he requested that his mom, Anna, fix the iPad for him. Once she fixed the iPad, he indicated that Anna went upstairs and changed into her real clothes, returning back
Where's
downstairs,
the lie?
holding a brown duffel bag, approximately 2 feet in length, and a purse, which he gestured to her wearing on her shoulder. He then stated that her taxi was here. He told her, "I love you." She responded, "I love you more." And she walked out the door to her ride. When asked if he saw the vehicle, saw the headlights for the vehicle, or saw her get into the vehicle, he stated he did not. Those are strictly his speculations. Obviously, he didn't use the word speculation, but.
And how did the conversation end with the oldest child?
He's looking awfully pale.
I had a question for him asking, does he know where his mom, before I was able to finish that question, Diana became animated with her arms since he was sitting on her lap, flailing her arms in the air. I stopped abruptly, being interrupted by her gesture. She finished the question for me, stating cell phone. The child never answered my intended question, which was if he knew where his mom was, nor the question that Diana finished. He strictly said that mom wanted him to move to DC to be with her. He abruptly got up off of Diana's lap and ran into a different portion of the home.
And did you have any further conversation with the oldest child?
Yes, I did.
And what was that, sir?
At one point, a little bit later on, he returned to the area where myself and Detective Lopes was standing.
You're a savage.
He
I like it.
opened the door slightly, just wide enough to the basement that he could fit through. He took a step onto the first step going down into the basement, looked back at me, extended his arm, and I told him that he shouldn't go into the basement on his own, realizing there were child locks on the door. Then Diana also opened the door all the way and grabbed his hand and told him not to go down there.
That is so chilling, given that police said they later discovered blood and a damaged knife down in the basement. And when the state called Lieutenant John Fanning to the stand, he testified about what a forensic examiner found in the internet search history on one of Walsh's devices.
He said, I found something in the search history, and that's interesting. I said, well, what was it? And it was numerous searches about dismembering a body, how to embalm a body, how to get rid of a body, numerous searches related to that, another search related to divorce.
And so after he notified you of that, did he communicate to you and other troopers what he had found?
Yes.
How so?
He sent an email.
And as far as analyzing the iPad mini, what was your understanding as further analyzation of the iPad mini at this point in time?
We were going to stop.
And what was going to be done as far as the iPad mini after stopping?
We were going
the data we're talking about.
Yes, we had stopped, and we were going to obtain a search warrant to seize that device.
So after that, investigators got warrants for Walsh's home and had Walsh and the children go to Walsh's attorney's home while they searched.
On Sunday, January 8th with Attorney Meyer.
I did.
When was that?
When we went to arrest Brian Walsh.
And where was that?
At her residence.
And what was the contact you had with Attorney Meyer at this point in time?
She met us right out front. She actually came out before we got to the door. And I
Just
asked
so
where
you
Brian
know,
was.
this is Lieutenant
She said in the
Fanning
house. I said, we
from
need to go
the
talk to
Sandra
Brian right now.
Birchmore
And she
case.
said, well, he's not going to say anything. I said, that's fine, but we need to find him right away. We walked right in. Dining room was right off to the left. Brian Walsh was standing there, and we placed him under arrest.
So the defense is arguing that this incriminating search history was discovered without a warrant, right? There's a constitutional violation. And investigators took 8 devices from the Walsh home, including iPhones, iPads. According to the warrant, the forensic searches of those devices had to be limited to communications between December 25th, 2022 and January 6th, 2023, a key time period. And communications, not searches for other online activity. That's the key here. And the defense, they questioned the lieutenant about the issue of consent to search.
Lucas, link is in the chat, babe.
State police consent to search warrants, correct? Yes. And you didn't use one or try to use one or attempt to fill one out before you took the items, the devices for Mr. Walsh that day on January 6th.
We only have about 10 more minutes of this one, and then we're going to Diddy. And welcome, Lucas, to Feral Friday. I missed you, baby.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm happy to hear that voice.
And how are we this evening?
We're great.
Cool.
We're great.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been a good week, and it's Friday, and it's a long weekend here, so I had to spend all my time doing whatever me and Caden want. So I'm happy about that.
Excellent.
Yeah. Everyone's excited you're on panel. Yeah, this is the motherfucker who helped frame who helped say that Sandra Birchmore killed herself and took a loss for Matthew Farewell, who was going to be in federal prison facing the death penalty for what he did to that poor little girl. Groomed her from the time she was 12. And this is the thing. These sick motherfuckers are the people that you know. It's not a stranger on the street. There are those, but like I'd say more than like 50% of the people who are predators are the people that you fucking know. And that's why like no one watches my kid but my mother. Like, nope. I'm kind of like over the top with it because maybe I've watched true crime for too long. But there's just it's a really sad situation, and these people are trying to protect a woman who was incinerated allegedly by her husband, and these people are investigating it. I have questions. Do all their bad behavior get brought up in these cases, or is it just like overlooked, like these are great people? That bothers me. Yeah.
You're missing a lot out here.
What? You tell me, honey.
I'd love to.
Tell
right.
me, honey.
So Fanning, memory. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Fanning was Proctor's supervisor.
Yes, him and Bukkake. And Bukkake was Proctor's supervisor because he was like.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, he was so Tully is a lieutenant above Bukkake and Proctor, and below him, Bukkake is a sergeant detective, and he was above Proctor. So they're all in a line of who reports to who, and they're all just pathetic men. They're pathetic. Those aren't men. Listen, if you put your hands on women, you're not a man. If you break a woman's soul, knowing that she loves you and is trying to be what you want her to be, I mean, that's her own problems too. But you are a psychopath and really need mental help. The people who helped cover up a rapist of a little girl, he's a sick person. And so is Farwell. They all need mental help, And it happens everywhere, and it's so scary to me that it's always the person you know. Like, it's more than domestic violence. Like the whole Diddy thing, way more than like. We'll get into that, but yeah. So, what were you gonna say? What was your bigger picture?
He was on when Proctor sent those texts about Karen. He was on vacation, I believe, and
Right.
he denied reading them.
Yep.
Something, yeah, something like that. Wasn't he? I'm trying to remember. There's so much about Fanning that I've forgotten in the fog of the Karen Reid case.
Oh, he was
But-
the juror interrupter because he was the head of security for Karen
he
Reid's
also
case.
he reported or had a part in reporting the juror who got dismissed.
Sure was.
There's something else, and I'm looking through the chat because I made a comment about it, and Mark replied to it, and I'm just looking for it, and I'm thinking, was that Fanning? You know, the thing about the waterbed. Does that make sense?
Right.
The waterbed thing. I'm looking for it. There's so much in that chat.
Zach, you can objectify me all you want. I like objectifying you. You're fun. Sorry, sidebar. Yeah, he had a lot to do with the back end of everything, and that's why I believe that like Karen Reid is a RICO case. Like they're talking about Diddy with the RICO case and racketeering and sex trafficking and all of this stuff. Like I don't know if he actually hits the marks for all of those things, but that's a bad man. And I'm not like downing hip hop. I'm not downing rappers. Like I said the other day, like I've known drug dealers that are some of the sweetest men. They just don't know any different, and that's how they make their money, whether it be right or wrong. They're not generally bad humans. Like these type of situations are individually bad people. And I just want to put it out there. If people think that Puff Daddy was not abused and saw way too much shit as a kid that made him a predator, abuse follows. Like if you get a lot of times when people get abused, they end up showing and doing the things that they were taught and manipulated and groomed to do when they were kids. And if you're abused, it's a cycle. You start abusing other people. I learned in my like early 30s that you have to walk away from people with red flags. Like red flags are like when you get that pit in your stomach, like, wow, this person isn't a good person. I like them, but they're not treating me right and they're belittling me and they're making me feel less than. And then it turns into the controlling. Like these people don't look at you as someone, like they might think that they love you, but you're property to them. And I'm talking Farewell with Sandra Birchmore. I'm talking about Anna Walsh to Brian Walsh. He didn't want her to leave because that is like she was the cash source, right? He wanted her life. Like if you want to leave me, then I'm gonna get your life insurance policy. Oh, and I do have a fan on me. I'm like Beyonce over here, Kevy Kev. I'm always hot. I there's just like a lot going on in these cases, and it's that if you take like celebrity away, if you I mean not the cops, like the cops like that was a lot fucked up, but then like you look at Diddy and he had all of these people covering from him. No one said anything. Like if you see or you suspect that a child is being abused sexually, physically, mentally, say something. If you see a woman getting her hair pulled and kicked and punched and you turn a blind eye to it, you are just as bad as the abuser. That girl is petrified of that man and to call the police and what's going to happen next. Like step up and be the person that you needed as a child. Be the hero. Don't turn your eye. That's coward shit for money. I just like I don't get that. I don't understand it. And don't be that guy. Say something. Even if it's not calling the cops, say it to the person, like, bro, you shouldn't be kicking and hitting and pulling someone's hair and calling them a disgusting person when they're like a 10 for you, right? It comes from a place of deep insecurity on a man's part. Women are fucking abusive too. I mean, it goes both ways. Boys, don't stay with abusive women. Narcissistic pieces of shit that make you feel like shit. You know, it's perpetual and it's a cycle. And the reason why women often stay with men who treat them bad is because it's really bad and then it's really good to keep you on the hook until it happens again and then again and then again. And you're wishing that this person would be someone that you met that was it was the most beautiful person in your life, and then all of a sudden they started treating you like you were fucking nothing. That's a psychological issue that like they would need to have heavy psychotherapy to get over. Once a man hits you, it's going to happen over and over and over and over and over. And it's like, it's so sad. It's just fucking sad, Lucas.
It is. Physically abusive relationships are happen for a number of reasons, but it's usually, not always, but usually the man beating on the woman. And of course, men are stronger than women physically, not emotionally, but that gives them the upper hand.
It sure was.
And yeah, I wouldn't have anything against a woman for hitting a fella over the head with a frying pan if he laid his hands on her in that way.
And the PTSD that comes along with it, like this woman will never be the same. Hold on. I'm sorry. 1 second. Caden. All right. Go ahead.
Caden, show me your truck. I need to see Caden's truck.
Oh my God. My mom got him. Okay. So he's obsessed. Sidebar. He like is obsessed with monster trucks, and I'm taking him actually on the 15th to get a monster truck. My mom got him a Monster Jam shirt today that says "Crush Breast Cancer." It's so cute. I know. He's so happy. He's like so proud to wear it for me, and it's like, oh God, he's my baby.
So is Bigfoot still a monster truck in existence in the US?
That's an oldie but a goodie, and they're really expensive. I've had to get like certain trucks made because they don't sell them anymore, and I had to pay like $85 for like the Black Pearl truck. It was worth it because it's one of his favorites.
I don't know any other truck but Bigfoot.
I do.
Bigfoot was the thing when I was younger.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So anyway, okay, let's go back to this, and then we only have a few more minutes in this, and then we'll pop over to Diddy.
No, we were working together cooperatively to find Anna Walsh. And I was happy that we were working together.
Oh, wait, we gotta get this.
You didn't use a consent to search.
There was already an agreement. So I think it wouldn't have made sense after just talking to Attorney Minor, talking to Sergeant Buchanan, an agreement in writing to then show up with a consent form. I think Attorney Minor would have had a problem with that.
Well, you think that, but my question is simple. You used those consent to search forms. You did not use one in this case.
That's correct.
And those consent to search forms, without belaboring the point, they're used to make sure that what you do when it's looked at later on, that there's evidence that there was in fact a voluntary consent, and that whatever parameters of any search that was going to be conducted would be followed, that the person giving consent understood that.
Yes.
Yeah, if everybody could smash the like, that'd be awesome.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Redirect.
Thank you, Your Honor. You were asked a question about one of the police reports concerning whether or not you mentioned that the son might have used the iPad for the police report.
Yes.
Do you have a memory of that paragraph where you mentioned that you were asked about as far as the son, the iPad?
You guys confuse me.
We're right there with.
Do I have a memory of the paragraph? Is the one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what you mentioned as far as the son using the iPad in that report? Would the report help you out?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm showing you the report, which has a number of 2003-112-4/116. I want you to take a look at the third paragraph, specifically the second sentence. Go to the third.
I agree, Lucas.
Got it.
All right, Lieutenant, did you write in the report whether or not the son used the iPad?
I did.
And then you go to day 2 of the hearing, and you had Trooper
Look at
Nicholas
this
Guarino,
douchebag.
the forensic investigator that the lieutenant was talking about, explained what he collected.
So you said a search warrant for the home.
Ah,
were you present
Guarino.
for a search warrant of the Walsh home in Cohasset?
Yes, I was.
And when was that, sir?
Sunday, January 8th in the morning.
And what was seized?
I don't
from
know what the
home
fuck
as
that
far
was,
as
sorry.
devices that morning?
There was 3 MacBooks, the iPhone 13 mini, the iPad 6 mini, the iPad 6 with the cracked screen, another iPad that I don't remember the exact model number of, and an iPhone SE.
And Trooper Guarino confirmed that he knew the date range in which he could search, but said that communications could include things like web chats that use a browser. During his examination of those details in the extraction, he realized that some of the items in the search history were suspicious.
So once it opened itself, I would have looked at the timeline view. So I loaded timeline and filtered by the date range that was given.
Now, why do you use the timeline view?
Multiple reasons. It's the easiest way to pare down the data by date range, and it gives a comprehensive list of how the devices interacted from the 25th to the 6th, as told.
And what?
So he's saying that he couldn't extract certain things, or he did, or whatever. How did he miss 36,000 messages during Sandra Birchmore? Riddle me that, Lucas.
He wasn't looking for them. He didn't request them from the extraction software. It's like, it's like a graphic user interface, old style, like Windows 95, 98. And it's a window with click boxes, and you click on phone calls, which gives you all the phone calls. You click on text messages, which gives you all the text messages, so on and so forth. So the Celebrate software, it puts it into a file. It can be XML, it can be HTML, it can be PDF. You've just got to request it. How did he miss that amount of messages? He didn't ask for them. Or he did, and he got rid of them conveniently.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There was like nefarious shit happening. If you can find everything in the Brian Walsh case, but all of a sudden 32,709 text messages between Farwell and a young girl named Sandra Birchmore who was pregnant with his baby. Like, you're a piece of shit. Yep. So true. Hey, Treya, my beautiful mama. Good to see you.
Didn't they, and they being the people that investigated themselves, the MSP, didn't they say that investigation was okay, and that it was done by the book and it was unquestionable?
Right. And they all still have jobs and investigate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
What did you begin to notice while you were going through this data and the timeline range? So it has every device interaction, what's been done with it. Started seeing searches on the 27th of December for best places to get divorced, worst places to get divorced, best states for divorce. And after the 27th, did you notice anything further that caught your attention when you were analyzing the data for this device? Yes. The morning of the first, approximately about 4:55 a.m., began seeing searches of how to dispose of a body. And how, after starting to see these searches, what did you do? So I went through the information, the data, probably up to about the second, and I saw numerous searches about body disposal, removal of smell, glass at dump, cadaver dogs at the dump, and I contacted, I went downstairs and contacted Trooper Keefe to tell him what I had found search-wise.
Now, to be clear, at the time of this recording, the judge hasn't made a ruling yet on whether those internet searches will come in at trial, which for now is currently scheduled to start October 20th. But I'll tell you this much. Yes, Brian Walsh is innocent until proven guilty, but for his defense's sake, they need to make sure the jury never sees those searches, because you and I both know for criminal defendants, when those searches come into trial, not great. But that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever.
All right. All right. Now we are going to go to some Diddy. Now, this is very graphic. Okay. This has nothing to do with hip hop. This has nothing to do with rappers. This just has to do with really fucked up men. So, let me get to where we need to be. Why is this happening? Okay.
Of this mansion.
Sorry,
Amy.
On the case presented by law.
Yes.
With the Diddy case,
Hello?
I don't know anything about this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So let's go over it a little bit. Okay. So Puff Daddy, who I knew him as Puff Daddy back in the day, I never really liked him. I knew that he was like the guy behind all the music and like Biggie and Mace and Shine and like all these things. I'm into hip hop. I've always liked the rap like community. And I used to go to like shows in Boston and like go and with my boy Mize, you know what I mean? And, it's not about hip hop. It's not about rappers. It's about people who are sick and abuse women because they can, right? And you don't even realize how damaging it is to these women. It is soul crushing, and you are never the same. Diddy had a couple of, he had multiple women at one time. And he would force them and blackmail them into having sex with male escorts. And it became a huge thing. And because he owned Bad Boy Records, which turned into like, I think it was Combs Global or something, he was having his employees help facilitate what they call sex trafficking, because he was trafficking escorts to different states to have sex with his girlfriend while he watched. And he controlled everything about her, down to her makeup, what she wore, how she acted. And there has been so many people who have seen him damage and abuse and sexually damage these women and turned a blind eye. They knew it was happening and let it happen.
Right.
So
it's all about his abuse of women, a bit like Epstein and we always forget that fat Jabba the Hutt lookalike guy.
Oh, yeah. Actually,
What's his
Alan
name?
Jackson helped him. I forget his name. He's in prison as well, at where he should be, because
Yeah,
these men
what's
have
his
this.
name?
What's the guy's name that he's like crippled and he was fucking with people in the film business? Like, I think it was yeah, it's an underground cult and it's being exposed. And I hope more names come out. Like Usher is supposed to be oh, I don't know what happened. I lost my camera. I don't know, guys. Why did I lose my... Oh boy. I'm just gonna have to do this. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so he essentially went and did, I mean, he's been doing this for decades, and there have been people out there that that help him do this. And so he is in like a racketeering case where it's like racketeering, help me out, basically sexual, like in my opinion, sexual trafficking is basically you're taking someone from one state in one area. Yes, Harvey Weinstein, thank you, baby. You're taking, and these were male prostitutes, and he was bringing them to New York, to Miami, to have sex with Cassie. Okay, and she thought that she was the girlfriend, but he was just using her for whatever he could use her for. He beat her almost to death. He would force her to do these things. He blackmailed her. He extorted her parents, and his Bad Boy record team was allowing this to happen. They all knew what was happening and did nothing. I mean, they were holding women hostage in his mansions to not leave after they knew that Diddy physically, mentally, listen, I don't know about you, but like I would rather be hit than mentally fucked. Okay, that's the worst, because that you can't get rid of that. Like, it's awful. Yeah, so Diddy's just on trial for racketeering. He had like 4 girlfriends at the time. He's getting people, he had like assistants helping him out. He had his security helping him out. And like people would see Cassie with black eyes, pumped up face, busted lips, broken nose, broken clavicle, and they did nothing. They did nothing.
That's horrible.
And so he was indicted for all of these things. And you know what, too? Like, Cassie went after him for money in a civil suit, because it's like, well, if you're going to ruin my life and cause PTSD and do all those horrific, inhumane things to me, she should have got more than $30 million. And he tried to put that to bed immediately so that people didn't find out.
So what's Justin Bieber's involvement in all this? Because I did see some headline that he was involved. That he'd
Boston Brady's right. It was way back. Jaguar Wright has been exposing him forever. Online, and like she's a little batshit crazy, but the bitch hasn't been wrong. You know what I mean? She's saying that like Jay-Z's involved. There's like all these people involved. Yo, 50 Cent has been exposing Sean Combs forever. And everything these people say have come true. I remember one time, do you know the Jaguar Wright has a Brandy's just asking. She has a new YouTube channel. I think it's called Jaguar Talks or something. I'll send it to you. It's fascinating. I mean, she's batshit crazy, but she's not wrong. Cat Williams, yeah, and all these people got shunned. They got shunned out of the community. Like, Cat Williams couldn't like perform anymore because people were calling him like all this stuff, and like he got shunned from the community because he was outing Diddy. Like, I remember one of his stand-ups, he was like, "You don't want to go to a Diddy after party." I seen some shit. And Justin Bieber, okay, so this is another thing that bothers me, all right? All these like stage parents are literally giving their custody away to people they don't know for their kid to become a star. Justin Bieber was 13 years old, and Usher, who has been living with Puff Daddy since he was 13, had custody of Justin Bieber and gave him to Sean Combs for the weekend. Sean Combs offered Justin Bieber his Porsche and love bombing, and I'm so great, and I'm gonna do so many things for him. And apparently, there's videos of him graping him as a 13-year-old boy. And it's not about being gay. It's not about anything. It's about power and control. When guys treat you like this, ladies, it's not love. It's control and property. I've experienced, certain situations in my life where like I can identify it now as a 40-year-old woman. But when you're a young girl, you think you're in love and you want to make a guy happy, right? And these poor girls get sucked in and then they don't know how to get out. And it's easy for people to say, like, why didn't she get away? It is so complicated. Relationships are so complicated. And maybe one day you just have enough. Or you never leave and you end up like Anna Walsh. Not all drug dealers are bad people. Not all rappers are bad people. Not all people who live in fucking trailers are bad people. Like nothing. It is a mental illness and it does not discriminate. Okay. And you can, like I said earlier, you can be beautiful, you can be ugly, you can be fat, you can be thin, you can have money, you can be broke. It does not discriminate. And no one is, it's kind of like a cult. Like these men suck you in and you're like, oh my God, these people are great. And then all of a sudden their masks start slipping and you're too far in. And you're like, how the f do I get out of this? I love this man. Why does he treat me like this? Right? It's so convoluted and so complicated that like I hate when people are like, why didn't she just leave? Why don't you get in a relationship like that and see if you can just leave? I mean, I've learned to walk away a lot faster than I have in the past. But it's tough, Lucas. I don't know. It's just, and it's tough for men too. There are abusive women. Stay away from those bitches too.
Often with abusive people, it's a case of they put on a front to win you over, to win your confidence and your trust.
Oh, 100%.
Once they've got that, they then start pushing the envelope and
Yep.
they see what they can get away with. And if you don't push back and fight against it, it'll just nosedive dramatically on
Yep.
a downward spiral. And it never gets better. It only gets worse.
Right. It only gets worse.
Most of the time.
And the
Most
more
of
they
the
know that they can get away with you, it escalates and escalates and escalates. Like I've been in some bad relationships where I know the signs quickly and I fucking exit. Not that I date very much because I'm with Caden all the time and but nonetheless, you have to learn. And Cassie, the woman who is like the main person in the Diddy indictment, the federal indictment at that for racketeering and all the conspiracy or whatever, she was groomed by him at 16 and he was like in his 30s. He's 17 years older. I was a girl at 17 that I wanted like older guys. And I remember like being 17 and dating someone far too old for me. And like, I didn't know it then, but I know it now. It was an inappropriate fucking relationship. And, even to this day, I know him and, he still likes young girls and he's a lot older than. It's just like one of those things. And it can happen to anyone. It doesn't mean that she's a weak person. It means that she fell for a facade that person couldn't keep up and you become their property and they think that they can treat you any old way and you'll stay. As soon as they start belittling you and the way you look and the way you act, and they start telling you that stuff's wrong, and then all of a sudden the physical stuff comes, like, you're so far into it and you're so confused because you're like, what happened to the person I fell in love with? Are you coming back? You know, it's a mind fuck.
Yeah. And we
Yeah.
get a lot of news through the tabloids and online media in the UK, but we don't. I don't know if the video, the court sessions like they do with the Karen Reid case, but we don't get any of that.
Right.
So I've got a friend who keeps asking me questions about it because he knows I watch trials online, and I don't know anything about Diddy. Nothing.
Right. Yeah.
I'd like to say I caught a headline that Justin Bieber had upset the apple cart by saying something that came up in
Right.
court, but I don't even know what was said.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot. And then, well, that's the thing too. Like, you know, he doesn't want Cassie as his monogamous girlfriend, even though she's a 10. And like, how are you going to get better than fucking Cassie, Diddy? But he had all these other chicks. He had all this other stuff. And he just ran game on everyone. Like, you are a 65-year-old man. Like, you're going to die alone. How does that make you feel, sir? In jail. That's what's going to happen because you couldn't keep your dick. Actually, he didn't even use his dick. Apparently, he had a little old thing, and that's why he hires male escorts that got the fucking swords, and he can see what sex should look like properly. That's what I heard. It's speculation. It's rumor, allegedly. But like, and that's something too. Like, I'm sorry, but if you want, okay. I don't kink shame. I think that people's kinks, if you are a consenting adult to whatever you're doing, go on with your bad self. Because your girl, like, you know, I like to have a good time, but it's all consensual. And when it becomes unconsensual and they're blackmailing you, and even though you're not together, they're forcing you into, I don't want to call it a freak off. What it is an organized sexual assault. That she didn't want to really be there, but she did it because she was scared. She couldn't date other people. He blew up Kid Cudi's car because he found out that they had been talking. But you are abusing her and treating her like an object. But you're mad that she's dating someone who might treat her right. Like, the whole thing's bizarre. And I think that Diddy was abused when he was younger, and he just, you know, he learned. Right. Oh my god. All right, let's start this one. It's a little racy, guys. This isn't the sensitivity police here.
I'm Chris Stewart. We have a lot to unpack because we just received dozens of pieces of evidence that the government has in their case against Sean Diddy Combs. These are pictures from the day they raided his house in Miami. Now, these appear to be what federal agents found inside that Miami mansion in March 2024. You can see some of the pictures they sent us of this mansion, just an extravagant.
Okay, wait. So, Lucas, I will explain what they call a freak off. Okay. I don't, like I said, I know Jay and Hell. I don't kink shame. Like, your girl got her own kinks, but like not like this. Diddy named him as a freak off, and he would hire male escorts to come do horrible things to Cassie. He would record them and direct them. He would make their hotel rooms 75 degrees, light candles, and use like 10 bottles of baby oil because he wanted them to glisten. And he would sit there like a fucking cuck and watch them. And it would go on for days and days and days. He would drug her and the escort, and he was on a lot of stuff, and which made it easier to kind of mold them, because when you're under the influence like that, your inhibitions are down and whatever. And so
Okay.
he would provide all of this stuff and it would go on for days. And then Cassie would be like, why don't you want to spend time with me? Like just me and you. Like I thought we were together. And he didn't want her for that. She was property to him from what it looks like. And that's all they did. And then he started to blackmail her when she tried to like go away. And he said that he was gonna like put all these tapes out, and supposedly he groomed and did really nasty things to Usher and Bieber. I don't know if those things are true. It's a rumor, but it's looking like it may be true. Those poor boys.
So what is a freak off?
A freak off is him watching Cassie have sex with escorts in really weird fucking rituals for days and days and days until Cassie couldn't function and she
So
would
it's-
have to recover from it. Lucas, they would have to recover. Listen, I've had some like, wow, come in and you're like, holy shit, my fucking legs hurt, my shit hurts, whatever.
So it's basically depraved, abusive voyeurism.
Yes, voyeurism, exactly.
Right.
But it was
That's-
like directed.
yeah, okay.
It was directed by Diddy. Yeah.
No,
Over
it's
and
not.
over and over for years.
Jay's got it completely wrong. An orgy to watch other wankers. No, if it was wankers, there would be no sex involved.
No, but like, you know, if you were going to go an orgy, if you were going to go do that, like that's consensual, right? You're not being blackmailed to show up at a hotel to be with an escort and do horrific things. Like there's some things he made a stranger urinate in her mouth until she choked. Okay. That shit, like, and it wasn't consensual. Like she didn't want it to happen, but like felt like she had no choice because she was afraid of him because he had already been beating her and putting her down and calling her ugly and you'll never find better and I have your career. And it was all of these things. And she's not the first person he's done it to.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been years and decades.
Yeah, I'm not.
You know what I mean?
I'm not a great fan of the Yellow Shower Club. Definitely not.
Yeah, I don't want to see Diddy at a fucking club. He'd be like, look at this girl. She got curly hair and a fat ass. Let's go, bitch. All of a sudden I'd be drugged. Yeah, and he drugs people and then they wake up and don't know what happened. Like there is like 200 people that have come forward in New York saying that bad stuff happened at his parties. And, you know, it's wild. All right, we're gonna start some of this video and then let me know if you want me to stop and talk.
Luxurious home on the water in an exclusive community in South Florida. Agents also raided one of Combs's homes in Los Angeles, and those raids played a key part in arresting Combs in September 2024, then getting us to the trial that is now playing out in federal court in New York. Now, this is a sketch from today, as the federal agent who is in charge of the Miami raid presented pieces of evidence and testified. This is a sketch of him showing the jury one of the guns taken from the Miami house. Now, along with pieces of evidence like this, dozens of bottles of Astroglide lubricant that was allegedly used in Diddy's freak-offs that reportedly included male escorts, drugs, and his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. We also have some new pictures of Ventura. This is one of her with Don Richard, who's the former Danity Kane member who testified this week that she had witnessed Combs assault Cassie multiple times. In this picture, you see Cassie on the right. Richard testified that Cassie wore glasses to hide the swelling after Combs allegedly hit her in the face. This was in New York in 2009. Other pictures show some of the injuries that the government alleges Cassie suffered at the hands of the now disgraced music mogul. We are blurring the bruises in these pictures. These are sensitive images about a sensitive topic, and also because of the rules of YouTube. Now we see in this image here, there is a bruise on Cassie's leg. We have another picture where there's a small bruise on her shoulder. This is a picture that shows Ventura with a dark bruise that's below her waistline. All of these have been already presented to the jury. Ventura testified in court that she was the victim of years of abuse at the hands of Sean Combs. She also admitted to taking part and sometimes helping organize these freak-offs. Sometimes they were hours long. They were sex parties that involved drugs. They involved escorts. And the new evidence shows a lot of what potentially went into these sex parties. Before we get back to this story and the new evidence we have in the case against Sean Diddy Combs, I want to bring you a law and crime legal alert, because if you received a Depo-Provera birth control shot, and then you were later diagnosed with a brain or a spinal tumor called meningioma, you also see what appears to be AR-15 pieces. And we'll talk more about the weapons the government says that they found inside the house in just a moment. Here's a closer look at some of those high-heeled platform shoes, clear high-heeled shoes that you might see an exotic dancer wear. And you can also see the rope and another adult toy in the box as well. Now, here are some more high heels with some more adult toys nearby. The name of the adult toy, it is too graphic to say, but it appears to be an adult toy that's used for oral sex. Now, then there are several bottles of Astroglide lubricant. This came up in court multiple times this week in testimony. Diddy's former personal assistant said he would go buy Astroglide along with baby oil, condoms, and prophylactics during his time working for Diddy. Then there was the testimony of a male escort named Friyay Hayes. In his line of work, he went by the name The Punisher. He laid out what he said happened during freak-offs he was allegedly hired to be part of. He claimed that Combs entered the room in an instance only wearing what seemed like a Muslim hijab, carrying Astroglide. The Punisher said he noticed it because of the purple cap, which we do see in the government evidence photos. And he explained that it was sexual lubricant. He also said he had no communication with Combs during the freak-off as he wore allegedly that veil over his face and nothing more. The government is also submitting several images that show drugs that were seized from the house in Miami. Here's a picture of some of that evidence laying on top of a Gucci designer bag. We have had to blur a lot of the drugs because of the rules of YouTube, but I'm going to describe for you what we see. This is a picture of a Ziploc bag that has several different kinds of pills. Some of them are pink, white, blue. There's also a rolled up $100 bill right next to that bag. In another plastic bag, there are more pills. These seem to be two separate kinds as well. Some are white, some are yellow. Then there are orange and pink pills you see here that, according to the Homeland Security Special Agent who is testifying today, that's the party drug MDMA. It's similar to ecstasy. This is according to the Homeland Security Special Agent who testified today about what they saw in Miami during this raid. Now, we don't get descriptions in the evidence drops to tell you exactly what these pills are, but when it comes to drugs, Combs' former assistant, David James, testified this week that Diddy allegedly took drugs every day when he worked for him. Specifically, throughout the day, he would take Percocets and then switch to ecstasy at night. Then there is this picture. It's a small alleged container of cocaine. The government found it with a rolled up dollar bill next to it. That cocaine has a label on it that says DBL Wash. Agents also found this green locked heavy duty container. It says Diddy right across the front. And then this picture shows what it appears they found inside, which includes 2 large bags of marijuana. Along with the bags of drugs and the adult toys that agents found during this raid, they also found several weapons inside the home. Here's a picture of a handgun they found. You might remember that sketch from earlier, the special agent presenting it to the jury today. There's also a magazine and bullets that appear to go with that style of firearm. Then there are pieces to AR-15 rifles like this. The government says the serial numbers on those guns, this one with a skull and crossbones on it, have been defaced. Then there's another AR-15. That one has a biohazard logo on it. That also has a defaced serial number, according to the special agent who took the stand. A few final pieces of evidence also caught our eye. Take a look at this. These are containers of Vital Honey powder. It's a powder that's used for sexual enhancement. According to the FDA, in fact, the agency actually advised people not to buy this stuff in 2022 because it contains the same active ingredient as Cialis, which you need a prescription for. Then there is this wide picture of a bathroom in Diddy's house. And you can see what looks like lipstick or marker written on this mirror. One of the messages reads, "What do you want?" And below it reads, "Love you, love Diddy." Then there's also another message that says, "You are a legend and breathe." Combs' trial is expected to last roughly 7 weeks. He is charged with racketeering, sex trafficking by force, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He has pleaded not guilty. Joining us now is former Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Eastern and Southern District of New York, where this
Hold
case
on.
is
Let's
being
stop
tried.
for fair
Barrett
use
Berger,
and discuss what we just heard. So and this is another thing, how they're getting him with a lot of this is he paid for the organized SA through his corporate credit card. He paid for the prostitutes that he was sending in from God knows where, the Punisher, to have these things happen. And so he was doing that, and then he had like ecstasy with Obama's face on it, and he was just popping them like candy. Do you know what's really sad is Cassie was supposedly pretty innocent, right? Or she had this like idea of love. Like even me, I love love. I hope one day I can find my Prince Charming, right? But you get into a situation where you think you found your Prince Charming and he ends up like Diddy. I mean, not like to that scale, but they end up being a piece of shit, right? And he got her hooked on drugs, and now she has to take Suboxone for the rest of her life because of the way she was being treated and drugged and all of these things. Like she has a permanent disability. I want a disability. I don't know. She's a permanent fucking fixture because of how she was treated. These things cause PTSD. She will live with this trauma for the rest of her life. She will never trust a man ever again. Even if she's married, she don't trust him all the way. Because she's seen what shit can go down. And it's really sad. And she was in front of this and she was moldable. She was so young. He was 17 years older. She's like, okay, I'll come. And then, she's being tortured. Like she had to recover from these freak offs. They had to have IVs. She had to like not walk for like days at a time to recover from these things. And he didn't care. He left and just left her. You know what I mean? Sorry. My kid just walked in my office and he's like, "You're being loud." Yeah, like ladies, treat your sons how to be a man. Stop allowing them to watch you be abused by piece of shit men. Stop it. And if you have little girls, make sure that they're not watching that. Like this is what happens. All right, I'm going to
Thank you for taking the time to be with us here on Law and Crime. There's been a lot of talk about Sean Combs's drug use over the past couple of days. What stands out to you in that testimony?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is actually turned into a pretty central part of the prosecution's case. So the allegations that make the drug use particularly relevant are that this is one way that Combs exerted control over both Cass Ventura and potentially other victims as well. We haven't heard from them yet. But part of the way that he was able to make Cassie compliant during these freak-offs, we learned this from her testimony, is through the use of drugs. So Cassie testified that for many of the freak-offs, she was high. She was given a number of different narcotics. We had other witnesses that came in and testified about seeing her, laying on a bed, appearing to be under the influence of some sort of drugs. So this was what we're seeing now is a pattern of Combs being able to, in some instances, control her through many different ways. But one of the central ways that we've heard testimony about is through these drugs.
How do you feel the government's been able to say that Cassie was more forced to take these drugs, as opposed to she lived as a someone who is in kind of the spotlight, you live that mentality where there's drugs that's always around, showing that she was actually forced to take it as opposed to something that she just did willingly.
Yeah, and this is what the defense has really made as the centerpiece of their defense, that none of this was forced or coerced behavior. This was all, activity that she did voluntarily, that she wanted access to this lifestyle. She wanted access to power, to the fame. And so she did these things voluntarily. I think what the prosecutors have to show is that there was not only this huge power dynamic between the two of them, right? He is this, multi-million-dollar music magnate, and she is an aspiring singer who really wants to be in that orbit. There's an age dynamic. She was very young when they first started dating, but also this, elements of violence and control. So I don't think that they have to show that every time she took drugs, it was involuntary. As long as they can show that, there were certain instances where she didn't want to, or that Combs was particularly insistent on this, or that this was something that he was really pushing. So they do have to connect this to this pattern of coercion and control, but they don't have to necessarily say that every time she took drugs, it was totally against her will.
And he of course, a larger than life figure, has endless amounts of money. So in some ways, I could see someone saying it's not a surprise that he had just so many drugs in his home, as well as some of the other baby oil's been talked about at length in this case. But were you surprised by just how much it was talked about that apparently he was regularly using substances, that he himself was someone who partook in these drugs a lot, according to people who were around him?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's surprising for many of us to hear about how pervasive that was, and how much of a factor in their lifestyle this was. But, one thing that's interesting to me is it really goes to this idea of what kind of a network he had around him. He was certainly not able to get all these drugs on his own. He had assistants and guards and people that worked with him that were able to help him procure drugs on a regular basis. This is going to help the prosecutors go to one of, I think, the biggest hurdles that they are going to have to prove here, is the idea that this was an enterprise. Remember, one of the things they've charged is a racketeering conspiracy. In order for this to be racketeering, there has to be an enterprise. It can't just be one person doing this on his own. It's a little tricky when you only have one person sitting there in the defendant's chair, right? He's the only person charged right now. So it's a little hard to show that it's an enterprise. And one way that they're going to have to show that is by, drawing out people that worked for him, what they did to help advance this racketeering enterprise, including helping Combs buy these drugs that were then used both recreationally by Combs, but also to help facilitate these freak-offs.
Yeah, and it's not only just drugs. I mean, there's images that we've seen of like white powder, for example, drugs that you would assume are not legal, but then there's prescription drugs that he was able to get. And typically for folks that aren't music moguls, your doctor is not going to give you that amount of certain drugs. Cassie's testimony, from what we've heard from our reporter in the courtroom, it was incredibly raw. It was incredibly emotional. She's been described by many as the star witness in this case. What do you make of the decision to have her go? And I know she's 8.5 months pregnant, so her availability probably factors into this as well. But for her to go early in this case and kind of set the tone, as opposed to building up your case and then having her come in as somewhat of a grand finale at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was probably a decision that was part strategic and part practical. I mean, when you have a witness that is pregnant, could theoretically give birth any day, you want to make sure that you get them in before they become unavailable. Let's be honest, it also doesn't hurt their case to have a witness that is pregnant. You could tell that the defense, was a little bit more cautious with her. I think they treated her with a little bit more respect and probably went a little easier on her because of the fact that she's pregnant. It's not a great look to see defense counsel beating up on somebody who's 8.5 months pregnant. So there probably was some of just the practical, let's get this in before she becomes unavailable side to the decision. But also, when I was a prosecutor, we always you want to start strong and you want to end strong. Anything that's kind of boring, troublesome, you kind of want to bury in the middle of your case. for them, Cassie's a really important witness because she can speak to, this many years of what happened during this racketeering conspiracy. She was there, with Combs in a part of his life throughout, most of the charged time period. And she can speak to a lot of the, various racketeering incidents that have been charged, but she can also give a very good overview of what he was like as a person. She testifies about the abuse, she testifies about the coercion. Through her, they're able to
I just want to stop it right there too. She was badly abused. Hold on, sorry, I have a private chat. Oh my God, wait, it was Brandy. Were you here? I'm so sorry. Come back. She was badly abused, and I don't know if like everything that they're trying to go for is going to be provable. It seems like he's just like not a nice guy, and he used his credit cards and he did this kind of stuff because he knew he was able to control her. And so it's just like makes it that much worse. You know what I mean? Like racketeering and all that. I don't know if he did that. He's just a really bad fucking boyfriend that you need to stay away from. All right, I digress. I'm going back. Hold on.
show this video, the CNN video showing his abuse in the hotel room. So I think she was a really important witness. I really can't imagine saving her for the end. It would be hard to kind of paint this picture without her going in the beginning.
Because I think of what she said, and yeah, she was a young girl at the time that they met. She said that she was innocent to a lot of things. She talks about doing these drugs, and then now you're hearing more about the drug use and seeing the evidence related to the drugs that, for example, was found at Diddy's house in Miami. How do you, as a prosecutor, make sure that that really emotional testimony in the beginning still holds, where a couple days later, a couple witnesses later, we're talking about the drugs, and you want to make sure the jurors remember that pregnant woman in the beginning who was so innocent that she was taking these substances?
Yeah, that's always a challenge for prosecutors. And, not only is it hard to keep sort of that emotional high going, but remember, witnesses and evidence don't always come in to a case in chronological order. It's not always a linear description of first, then this happened, then, point A to point C.
Sure will.
You kind of come in bits and pieces. You might have one witness who's only available to testify in a given week, so you have to call them then. So really, that's the prosecutor's job at closing argument. And we're going to see them have a huge job to put all of this together at the end of the case. And what they're going to do is try to bring the jurors back to Cassie's testimony. They'll quote from her testimony. They'll try to draw out and be like, remember when she talked about this? Remember how she sounded? So they'll have to do a good job trying to bring the jurors back to that moment. That is the challenge of having a witness like Cassie go first is, you have a 5, 6, 7 week trial. By the end of it, are the jurors really remembering everything she says? She was such a compelling witness, and I think her testimony was so emotional. You said the word raw. I think that's a good description of it. I think the jurors will remember the effect that it had on them, even if they don't remember all the specifics of her testimony. And that's then going to be the prosecutor's job at closing to bring those back into the narrative.
I think for so many of us on the outside of the world of fame, like you try to think of what it would be like if you were in those circles like Sean Combs, and then you hear about the drug use, the sex, and all of this. And then I think back to this jury, and it's like you have a social worker sitting on that jury. There's like a deli clerk sitting on that jury. What impact could just how exotic this lifestyle was have on people? Like, I think of my parents, if they were sitting on this jury, I mean, they would be blown away,
horrified,
just understanding that any of this would be alleged to have happened in this man's life.
Yeah. I mean, look, I was a prosecutor for many, many years, and I read about the allegations in this case and my jaw kind of drops. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that stuff's happening. And I'm somebody who I think of as having pretty thick skin with this. It's really shocking. It's hard to hear about. I imagine what the defense is really going to harp on throughout the case, but particularly when it comes to closing, is this idea that, the jurors can hate Combs. They can find this lifestyle disgusting. They can find him to be perverted, but that's not what's charged. He's not charged with being a scumbag. He's charged with being a racketeer. He's charged with being a sex trafficker. So they're really going to focus on, put aside everything you've heard about this lifestyle, try to separate that from the criminal elements. It's a hard thing to do. It's a very fine line to walk, right? I mean, jurors are people just like you and I, and it's very hard for somebody to tell us, yes, he's just a domestic abuser. He's just, somebody with this, abhorrent lifestyle, but he didn't commit these certain crimes. That's hard for jurors as it is for anybody to get their head around. So it's a pretty tricky defense, I think, to make successfully, but that's certainly the approach that they're going to take, as they, indicated during opening statements.
Right.
He's a
they're saying,
rapist.
Look, you may not like the CNN video, but that's not a smoking gun for what he's accused of in this trial. Related to the drugs, why not charge him with some drug-related offenses, considering he was taking so many of them, and there's evidence that the government has of illegal substances in his house, where I would think for a regular person, if you were found to have, for example, cocaine in your home, which there's white substances that he had, that someone would face a charge, but he's not.
Yeah, you could say that for, a number of different crimes that you've seen. So for some of the offenses that have been discussed in testimony, right, even just instances of alleged abuse, I've heard people say, well, why wasn't he just charged with assault? Number one, some of them aren't federal crimes. So here we have federal prosecutors, not state prosecutors. Some of these acts would be time barred, so they didn't come within the time period of the statute of limitations, so prosecutors wouldn't be able to bring them. Some of it may have been strategic, that we really want to keep this case focused on sex trafficking and the nature of what these victims went through. But I'm not sure why they didn't bring some of these in. My guess is that probably if there was something obvious that they could have charged federally that they would have jurisdiction over and venue over, they probably would have. So, I'm not sure why they made that strategic decision.
I feel like the drugs are the least of this dude's problem. He is a very heavy drug user with money. Okay. And the least of his problems is the ecstasy. All right. The ecstasy is the least of his problems. He is a deviant. Okay. Like I said, I don't kink shame, but when you are blackmailing and you are forcing and you are controlling and you are beating someone, and Cassie is not the only person who has come through. And there have been many, many, many women that have come through and said he did the exact same thing to me, intermixing. You don't kink shame. Oh, Zach, I know you far too well. You don't kink shame. You got kinks to yourself. I can tell. Right here. I can tell you got some hoe in you. But he's just a deviant, and he's done it multiple times. And there are women so scared to come in and testify because they're so scared. What if he gets out and I end up dead? I heard a rumor, and this is just a rumor, okay? And I'm going to say it because this blew my mind. So Kim Porter apparently was the original organized SA lady, and she was found dead in a room. She had IVs, she had Gatorades, she had ice packs around her, she had all of these things. And it is said that Kim Porter may have died recovering from a freak off. And that is horrifying. He made these women do this for 4 days. Listen, okay? If you got to go past an hour or two with your man, you know what I mean? Have it a couple times, do whatever. He was forcing them to go 4 days at a time. How their body didn't fucking break is wild to me. And they're saying that Kim Porter died trying to recover from a sex off or a freak off, whatever he wants to call it. They're trying to cover it up, saying that yeah, they said it was pneumonia. No, I mean, I don't know. She was the young, vibrant lady that ended up found in her bed. Boston Brady says he still has people killing for him behind bars. Girls are still in hiding, and Kim was 100. Yes, girl. See, me and you are right there. We should be friends. The court of stance is corrupt and paid by. Yes, girl. Preach it. You know what you're talking about. Huh? My son's asking Alexa how long his birthday is away.
August 29th, 2025 is in 98.
Yeah, right. Abnormal deaths. Yeah, there's been several abnormal deaths around him. And they're saying that he had something to do with Biggie. Like this man who made him who he is. And he like incited that crime. Because Biggie was more popular than he is. And I don't think he could have handled that. That's all speculation and opinion. I know you don't like to get into that, Lucas, and you don't have to. Yeah, I'd be terrified to testify. Terrified. Are you kidding me? And then, okay, this is a good point, Brandy. Right. Aaron Carter, Biggie. So I think that Aaron Carter ended up at some of his, I've heard from like good sources, not like the Inquirer, that Aaron Carter ended up going to Britney Spears was at his after parties, and we wonder why she went fucking batshit crazy. Justin Bieber had been there, Usher, and he's not just doing this to like older people, he's doing it to children. He's getting his young son to bring children to after parties because they're easy to mold. Like, you have to be mentally ill. You have to be a sick motherfucker to be doing any of this stuff. Like, my mind would never go there. You know what I mean? All right, guys, let's continue.
And then it's important to remember it's still early on, and what's expected to be roughly a 7-week trial, and there's just been a lot to talk about each and every day. But to this point, how would you say the prosecution is doing in laying out that, yeah, Sean Combs, maybe he's a domestic abuser. We're not talking about that. Drugs, we're not talking about that. We are arguing that he was running a criminal enterprise. How has the prosecution done, in your opinion, to this point in making that argument?
Yeah, so early days still, like you said, very hard to know how the entire case is going to shape out. I imagine we'll hear from more victim witnesses. I imagine we'll see more, physical evidence.
Send that to me.
Will connect all these things. But, if I had to say right now, I think the prosecution has done a very good methodical job of showing each of the elements that they need to show legally to prove sex trafficking, the prostitution, and the racketeering. I think they probably are there on the legal elements for each of these offenses. Mm-hmm. But here's the tricky part. There is still this very difficult, it's I almost want to say like the vibe of, a racketeering case that I'm not sure that they've convinced all the jurors that this is a racketeering enterprise. And I think that's going to be challenging for them. I think we need to hear from more people that worked for Combs, that helped assist him with some of these racketeering acts that have been charged. We need to hear more about how this wasn't just, all about him, why this was an enterprise, why it's bigger than just, the relationship between Cassie and Combs. That's, I think,
I'm pausing this for a second because Brandy has a really good point. Clive Davis was the original groomer of all the, not the only, but he was a huge groomer of all of these guys and taught them how to act in the business. He is the OG of all of this. Don't get it twisted. You are 100%, Brandy. 100%. All right, we're going to keep going.
This on in the next few weeks. Look, they're probably there on all of the elements, and legally they probably have a facially sufficient case that they could even put forth to the jury now. But you have to do more than that. You have to be able to convince jurors that not only is this the legal thing to do, but this is actually, the moral and the right thing to do. And while they've certainly established that Combs is an awful human being, they also need to convince the jurors that these were the right charges, that this wasn't, prosecutorial overreach. And I think that's what they'll probably do and focus on in the next couple of weeks.
And even though it's not a domestic violence case, because that video is so shocking, the evidence that's being submitted showing a lot of illegal substances in his home could still, for a juror, do you find, how much of an impact does Sean Combs as a bad guy have when it comes to jury deliberations in your experience, where clearly they need to get to a point that he was running a criminal enterprise, but they could look at him through the prism of this is a bad person, and then be able to then make an easier connection than seeing someone that was a saint and then say, well, how could he run a criminal enterprise?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. In my experience, jurors have these two competing goals. They want to make sure that they are doing the right thing in that, guilty people are held to account. I think they come into this, I really believe in the jury process. And I think most jurors come to this wanting to follow the law and wanting to make sure that if somebody is guilty, that they are, held accountable for their crimes. Similarly, they want to make sure that they don't make a mistake, that somebody who didn't commit it, you never want to be the one that sends an innocent person to jail. Here, I do think the jurors will take some solace in the fact that, however their decision shakes out, if
Celine
they
Dion.
end up convicting him, this is not a good person. I think, jurors want to make sure that people who have done nasty things, and here there is just no dispute that Combs has done horrible criminal things. You've seen it with your own eyes through these videos. You've heard damning testimony about it from Cassie. So I think they can take a lot of solace of the fact that, whatever they do, if they convict him, it is somebody who very much will have deserved that conviction. So I think that helps. And it just goes to what I was saying earlier, the whole, yes, I'm a domestic abuser, but no, I'm not a racketeer. It might be a good defense legally. You might convince courts of that. It's a lot harder to convince 12 people who've seen evidence of how awful your client was. It's a harder job to convince them.
Yeah. And it's, we're still at the beginning of this. So it just seems like each and every day there's like a new shocking, piece of Combs' life and what he's accused of doing that comes out. We'll see how it plays out over the next 7 weeks. Barrett Berger, former assistant U.S. attorney for the Eastern and Southern Districts of New York. Thank you for taking the time to be with us on Law and Crime. We appreciate it.
All right. So we've been here for 2 hours. Brandy, if you want to come up, love to have you. You seem to know a lot about this case, and Lucas is learning. Thank you for being up here with me tonight, baby.
Yeah, get up on the mic, Brandy.
Oh, we have a Brandy. Being up here with me tonight, baby. Hey.
Yeah, get up on the mic, Brandy.
Can you hear me?
We have a Brandy. Yeah, there's an echo, but.
Oh, okay, sorry. What about now? Sorry.
No, yeah, you're good. You're good. So
I
what do you
sound
think
like
about all this? Have you been
No,
following
it's
it all?
crazy because it really is all of them. And I learned it all through TikTok, through that Ali Kata girl. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but she's
No.
one of Diddy's victims who got away. And she's been on the run since with her mother, not her birth mother, but her mother that's, helped her. And she's had, cars blow up, people threaten her. It's just a real sad case. And you can see her in one of the P. Diddy videos with, I think it's Jay-Z and Rihanna. It's like you see the underground tunnel and you see Ali Kata's eyes. And once you look at TikTok and you look at this girl, like she's the one that I started learning about all the underground stuff. And if you research too, before Trump got elected, Kamala Harris was talking about it. And she said, I've known about the underground tunnels for years. I've been down there. And people who work down there who also got away said, once you go in, you can never find your way out. You have to be let in and let out. because like it goes so deep and so far. And the government has used underground tunnels for years, like especially in New York City and Boston. But they they specified like Diddy used to run people under the Citgo in LA. And under the schools, and they have these back, like even in, it's so sad because they do it in hospitals, they do it out of schools, they do it everywhere. Like it's so sick when you find out like all that's going on. But if you notice the Diddy's and the Jay-Z, like all the people who she alleges was a trafficker, they all have these large properties with either underground tunnels or they're right near the shipping ports. Like they're all on the water.
They have their own islands,
in and out.
like they have their own islands, like Epstein.
Yes,
like
exactly.
they fly. And there's actually one of the girls who her name has been brought up multiple times. I know that it's not being like televised, but I watch like there's a chick who reads all the tweets all day and stuff. So I've been listening, and then I'll watch the AI shit at night. There's this girl Gina that was with him for like 15 years as like the side chick or whatever. And she refuses to go up and testify him because she is so scared of what's going to happen. Like she said in an interview, just because he be behind bars for the rest of his life does not mean that he doesn't have people on the outside that would gladly kill me. That is a horrifying feeling. He was literally holding people hostage. He held her hostage, and his own security wouldn't let her leave one night after he beat the shit out of her.
Yeah,
and then try to have her sex with like an escort. So, I don't know if he's like, I don't know about racketeering and RICO and stuff like that. I know the basics. I don't know if he qualifies for those things, but he should be away for the rest of his life. Because, and you know what, too? There's nothing. Guys, women, if you see something, say something. If you see young girls hanging out with older dudes, say something. It's never a good thing. Never a good thing. And it's always the people you know. It's hardly ever a stranger in a back alley. Like, that's for sure. It's wild. Do we have any questions? Always say something. Yeah, if you see something, say something. Like, I remember like staying in my own lane. I stay in my own lane for most things. But when it comes to like women being hit or kids looking like they're being abused or anything like that, like that's where I draw a line. Like, that's not okay. He has a 13-year-old victim. And you know who she is? She's one of his like employees' nieces that used to come to the studio because it was cool for her. Like, why wouldn't you want to go see Diddy at the studio and like be there or whatever? He made her perform fellatio. A 13-year-old girl made her perform fellatio in front of everybody in the studio. 13. It's like this man is a sick piece of shit. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's a rapper and he's that. Blah, blah, blah. I don't believe any of that because there's a lot of rappers and drug dealers and everything that they're not bad people. They just don't, right? But they don't hit women. They don't touch kids. They don't do anything like that. Like, and they're saying that Jay-Z and Beyonce was in this allegedly.
I got a question, Amy.
What?
I've just been doing a bit of reading from the media on this case, and Cassie was in court and she was asked to read aloud explicit messages between her and Diddy, where she expressed a desire for the drug-fueled group sex that she previously testified left her traumatized. Now, she says she did this to keep on Diddy's good side because after I think it was a 11-year relationship, but after a few years, she tried to get him to let her into what he was doing more and more, and he just kept shutting her out. So what do you think about all that?
I think that he controlled every part of her life. He promised her a 10 record deal, and none of them came out. He was her manager. She lived with him. He got her drug addicted
He was
as a
having an affair
person
with her
who,
husband too, her ex.
right.
Like that other producer, Diddy was having an affair with him, and she caught them.
And she caught them.
She caught them, and then
And
he beat her for it. And I don't know if he was embarrassed or whatever, but it's if you look up
Wouldn't
Kim
you
Porter's
be?
tell-all book, there's a lot of gruesome stuff in there. It's really sad. Like
right. And the
he used to drug her, and she was just surrounded by people who were constantly watching her. He literally had pinhole little tiny cameras that you can't even really detect. And then today I found out there was tiles in the hotels that he would use too for these parties and whatever they were, and they were fake tiles in the ceiling. They were cameras, and he had
They were
cameras just
cameras.
everywhere. He had weapons everywhere. He had people paid everywhere. He was sick, and
he would send people to go find her.
but he was
Like he
I
had
think you said earlier, like he was abused when he was younger. He was abused at his school. The school got shut
very,
down.
yeah.
But like
Apparently,
Clive Davis has
allegedly,
been doing
his
this for a
mother
long
was
time,
like
too.
a madam and like showed him
Yep.
like things when he was a child, and those things are very traumatizing. And victims can often become abusers. It's kind of like women. Like when you've been with like bad men, it is so crushing, and you're
Yeah,
never the same woman.
I saw someone in the chat say something about Oprah too. Like Oprah, that's all money laundering. Those schools that she pretended to have, that she said she was helping the children, that was just they were trafficking children through them. It's all funneling, and all the like. It's sick. When I say it's all of them, it's literally all of them. Like if you look into the Kardashians, all the little businesses they have, like Kylie Cosmetics, Kylie Lips, the sock one for the boy there, George, Kim's Skims, and all of these, they go through the lady, I forget the lady's name, but she took control of Britney Spears's whole everything, and she went, I don't know, she like took control of like Britney Spears with Britney Spears' dad, but she runs the money for the Kardashians, and the Kardashians were funneling about $600 million through Panama, but they had to account for the money somehow, so they said that Kylie Jenner sold her business, or it was 300 million. It was something, a very large amount. And if you look back at the news, like mainstream media was reporting, Kylie Jenner sold $300 million, you know what I mean? And then Kim did it too. When they make these big, like, and there's a lot of stuff going on like behind the scenes. You always just got to follow the money, because that's where like
money.
And then Kris Jenner also started a church, because this lady who controls the money her and her husband like run a church, so they do it a lot through the churches too. And it's just sick, because there's so many kids.
How many times do you hear that? Yeah.
And even in Norfolk County, you got to follow the money. Michael Morrissey's money, all of his donors. You know that guy, that Dr. Wolf that just testified? You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of the dude that built Marina Bay, that other guy that raped and killed the girl for Morrissey. He's one of them. I don't know why. I just feel like I can tell by his suit. He's one of, like, why did they need to go to Florida to get an expert? Like, no brain doctor from Massachusetts would testify? No, because
The
he's one of
best
Morrissey's
doctors in the
donors.
country.
He's one of Morrissey's pigs. He's one of the ones that likes little girl. I just know it by looking at him. I can tell he's a creep.
Yeah. Well, look at if you go back to like the Sandra Birchmore case, right?
Exactly.
Like
Yep,
all
those
of
are the
those
secrets that they're hiding.
Those are the secrets that they're hiding, and they're all hiding for them. So that tells me, oh my God, we gotta.
Well, that's exactly why they're going after. That's exactly why they hired a special prosecutor and everything else, because they have to pin it on the girl. Because if you don't, Brian Albert is like Jeffrey Epstein, and Jen McCabe is like the Gazelle Maxwell. I always say, like, they have all this information. He was a surveillance expert. He has all the dirt on people. They had after parties. They did drugs. They sold drugs. They know the townies. They know the secrets about people. They know their families' weak spots. You know what I mean? Like, they're the controllers, and they know that if they go down, a lot of other people are going to go down with them, and secrets will be released. And that's why they got all these leaders protecting them. This is why people aren't stepping in. This is why our leaders aren't saying nothing, because they're involved. Michael Morrissey and Maura Healey are very close. Very close.
Morrissey looks like a diddler, allegedly.
He is. He's been. I grew up in Quincy. He is. 100%
He's a fucking
he is.
pig. Just
He's
to
a
look at
pig.
him, like you would never want to like sit next to him anywhere. You'd like want to be
You
like, get the
don't.
fuck
He
away from
reminds me of
Yeah.
the Penguin from the original Batman movie. That sick
Damn
bastard. Yeah.
Danny DeVito.
Yeah, he's so gross. That's what he reminds me of.
Yes. Oh my God. That's
But
Hi,
yeah,
my
Whitney
beautifuls.
was gonna come out with a tell-all. He killed her. He killed her daughter, Brittany Murphy, her husband, and
Brittany
it's all
Murphy.
pneumonia. If you look at the coroner or the stars, he was
Just
involved.
like Kim
Michael
Porter.
Jackson, everything. Like Michael, all the people that tried to come out and say something, Aaron Carter, the little brother there, like everyone that wanted to say something and they were going to come out. They got them. They got them.
Yep.
Yeah, Aaron
And
Carter
you know
was
what?
found in
Brittany
like
Murphy was
green
just
water.
about to be a witness in a federal case too. She was like, "I'm doing it. I'm not going to be scared," and she was stepping up. She got killed
You know
for
what
it.
I've thought too about like some of the abuse that happened with like Diddy or whoever. You know what I mean? It doesn't include whoever. Like Aaron Carter came out so young. Like I remember seeing him at Great Woods in
Oh, wow.
Mansfield one time, and I got his autograph when I was like all about NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. And he was so little. And you look at like the life that he had and the self harm, how self harm
It's
is
so
like
sad because he
doing
was so
heroin
young.
and so young, and then he ended up committing suicide. However that
Yep.
may be,
It wasn't
right? Oh yeah,
suicide.
Disney's
It wasn't.
corrupt too. Absolutely,
Disney's bad.
Disney's fucked up.
Disney's
bad.
bad.
Disney is very Disney is they have literally, and it's so crazy because Disney's like its own city. They have their own power. Do you remember when they were fighting with the governor?
Yeah,
Because
my
it's like,
uncle ran the electric company for 35 years. At
Here?
Disney.
Oh,
Yeah,
Disney, at Disney.
At
Oh,
Disney,
okay.
he ran the electric company for 35 years.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
And
Brandy
they
knows
do,
that. I'm
like-
so happy you're here, Brandy.
Brandy, you're right. Like they have their own city and they can do whatever they want to.
they do. They have so much power. And Walt Disney, I feel like he was a pet. I never wanted to believe it. Like there's so many people in this that until I like did my own like not sleeping deep dive on TikTok. Like I don't believe stuff unless I hear it 36 times by 10 different, you know what I mean? By 18 different, and I still don't
need
believe it.
all the sources. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I got to look
Yeah.
into the sources, and like they're like you learn by, unfortunately, like stuff in the trial. Karen Reed, like people lie about their accreditations, like accreditations. You know what I mean? Like I don't trust no one. If you're a teacher, a doctor, a senator, I don't care. I don't.
I
Trust
didn't tell you I was a doctor.
just because of your title, you know.
I'm a doctor.
Right.
No, like I'm not
Right.
going to trust you just because of your title. Like
I
you know what I mean?
know.
I'm going to do my own research because of the fact that
Right.
there's corruption everywhere in schools,
I'm just saying.
in cities, you know, everywhere. You have to.
I'm
do
just
it.
saying that I am a doctor and I stay at the hospital enough, and that's why.
You do.
So I will. I'll be able to diagnose you.
I'm at a
Brandy,
hospital a lot too.
with anything you want. I will diagnose you. You want me to
Yeah.
diagnose it? I'm on it, baby.
Oh my god.
You sound like my
It's
sister.
funny.
I mean, we're sitting in one right now, so.
I love
just scary.
Disney. I love Disney, but there's like it just like breeds predators, right? Like who wouldn't want to work at like a place if you like little kids?
It really does.
Yeah, it
So
does.
sad. And all the
And,
like Disney stars talk about how they were abused too. Like I forget that girl, not Hannah Montana. Who was the other one that was like in her era?
Oh, Hannah Montana
that-
was too. Miley was really abused there.
Yeah.
She was
Who
told
was
what
the
to
other
wear.
one? That Rob Schneider? Not Rob Schneider. Who's the
Oh.
producer there?
Well, there
Rob
was Justin
something.
Timberlake.
Yeah, they
There
were
was
all.
Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera.
Poor Britney. They got to her bad, man. They like tore.
They got
oh,
to her
man.
bad. Yeah.
Like so bad. And she had a
That's-
breakdown because she was trying to tell people. She was under the conservatorship. She had no privacy. They had videos, like cameras in her bathroom.
Amanda
They had cameras
Bynes,
when she
that's
was like
it.
having sex.
That's
like,
it. Amanda,
Amanda
Barnes.
Bynes.
She is
Yeah,
so
Amanda
fucked
Bynes.
out.
Yes.
That poor girl, like trauma. This is the thing too. Like people don't realize like what trauma is. Trauma is like something that lives in your body that you can't control, and you can
Oh,
be
it's 'cause you
fine.
move it around.
And these people get so badly abused, and it like
Yep.
I read this book one
Flashbacks,
time. Yeah, I read this book one time, and it's called "The Body Keeps the Score." Great book. I would suggest anyone reading it who just wants to be fascinated by the mind and how PTSD works. It like lives in your body literally, and you can have physical symptoms when flashbacks come back. You get nightmares, you have all of these things, and you get like depressed and anxiety and all of these things until you can't function anymore. And your only way out, like people are saying, like Aaron Carter allegedly, or look at the way Justin Bieber is right now with this trial coming out. Nickelodeon was bad too. Thank you, changes.
Oh, so
Nickelodeon was terrible. Yeah, that guy, that fat guy who like did the Hannah Montana show. I can't remember his name.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking. That's who Brandy was also talking about a second ago.
Yeah, yeah. I can't
they're
remember
all
his
the
name.
same. Like
Dan
Harvey
something.
Weinstein, all of them. Yeah, Dan something. That's him. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dan
Yeah.
Schneider. I don't know why I said Rob
That's it.
Schneider. I got the last. I'm like, well, I don't know. Fuck.
I was like,
Yeah, it
Rob
was.
Schneider,
But
isn't
like,
he
no,
on
the
like?
biggest, another big disappointment was Ashton Kutcher because that mother father, right? He sat up on Congress and he had that Acorn app. He pretended this is the worst type of snake. You fucking you should have known better because back in the day when he was going after Mila, he was the predator back then, but we didn't realize it because they were so cute together. You know what I mean? But he's another one, and he was good friends with Diddy, and he sat up there in Congress pretending he was fighting against sex trafficking. Meanwhile, it's because they put them there so they can keep an eye on who's coming after them. They plant them there so they know, you know what I mean, who's looking into them. He's in, and him and Mila, all these celebrities who said they left the country because of the
Okay.
election.
Do you
No,
have?
you
No,
left
I'm
the
fine.
country because
Fine.
you were getting exposed.
I have a drink.
But it's scary.
Sorry.
Yeah, Nick Cannon's another predator. Bro, he's like 18 kids with 18 different women.
Oh damn!
Like-
I haven't heard about him, but
Sorry, I said I hit mute.
Yeah, he can't keep it in his pants. I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's just fucking keep your dick in your pants. Like, how do you pay for 18 kids? Your girl got one, and it's a lot. it's a lot of money, and I got a good job. I just
Seriously.
like 18 kids.
I thought my
Puff
mute was on
Daddy
mic.
has
so-
fucking
my mic.
12 kids.
Maybe
I thought
he's
my
just
mic was
trying.
on.
Maybe
What's
he's
that,
just trying to
Lucas?
create his own United Nations.
His own tribe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
Um,
Ashton Kutcher sitting up there with his best friend Danny Masterson raping people in prison.
a
now.
rapist. Yeah. And how about him and Mila Kunis? I think that Brady just touched on this, but they were the heads of the like sexual abuse,
Trafficking, like
trafficking something or other. And he wrote letters saying how great Danny Masterson was when he was in trial, and he should get up like go. You can fuck all the way off. And you
Yeah.
should never help a victim again because you're a fucking predator yourself.
And he
Even if-
lived down the street from Ellen.
Bro, he was hooking up with Mila Kunis when she was 14 and he
Yep.
was 21.
There was a
Granted, they're
bet.
married now.
Him and Danny Masterson had a bet on stage that when they first kissed, he wouldn't give her the tongue.
Right, and he
So-
did. He slipped it.
Yep.
They said that like on, yeah.
But
She's
Ashton Kutcher and
absolutely
Mila
stunning.
lived like in down two houses down from Ellen for a long time, forever. They were like good friends.
Yeah, they're besties.
Mhm.
They're besties, and he's related. He's like connected to P Diddy, to Puffy. I can't call him Diddy. He's fucking Puff Daddy, and I've never liked him.
They didn't call him Love when he was Love.
Like Love.
Yeah, he went by Love, and then he went by formerly known as Love.
Oh, we
Oh,
lost Brandy. Oh,
Where'd
that's a
she go?
bummer. Brandy, you can come back whenever you want. I like your commentary.
Yeah, they have, and I know that Jayla. Say hi to her.
Hi, my boyfriend. What are you doing?
I'm playing Roblox.
You are?
Driving
Aw,
his mother crazy. All right, go.
that's okay.
He's
I
been
love you.
begging. He's been begging to say hi to you. I'm like, okay, stop.
You know, that's my baby.
He's
That's
been good.
what you say.
Being that we've been in this room for 24 hours, he's been
had a
good.
long day.
But yeah, so like, what was I gonna say? With
Heavy Kev is right. They all graduated from the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. You are absolutely right.
well, with
It's a
Ellen,
breeding
like I
ground.
said earlier, that cancer program or nonprofit I was part of that we actually turned in because he was embezzling the money. He had everybody trying to get the cancer kids on Ellen to meet Diddy. And so they were constantly emailing. He was having all the parents like email Ellen, and they did. And they finally they had 12 of the kids come on to meet Diddy. And those little girls under the age of 7 with no hair running up into Diddy's arms made me nauseous.
Bro, I saw a video of him when I was doing my deep diving because you know how I am. I need all the information. Okay. I need all of it. I saw some creepy ass video of him. Well, not only with Justin Bieber, and Justin Bieber looked extremely uncomfortable, but
When
there
he was
like a
checking for the
12-year-old
wire?
Yeah, and he was like, "How come you haven't called me? Why is a 12-year-old boy gonna call you, fucking Sean Combs?
He's like, I have a
Outta
career
here.
and a job and life, and not
I
you.
have I don't want you near me." But there was also a little girl standing outside like a red carpet. I don't know who she was. She may have been like a Disney star or whatever. And Sean comes up and touches her midriff, like her stomach, and says, "Oh, you coming to my after party tonight? I'll give you a good time." On camera.
His white
On
parties are
camera.
known. His white parties are what they call them.
Do you know? Okay, so like I'm like a thick girl. Like I'm, like I'm thick. He had a weight and height requirement for his white parties, and you got weighed at the door. You had to be 40 pounds, 140 pounds or less. You had to have hooker shoes, and your ass cheeks had to be hanging out in order to get into his white parties.
That's right, Cindy. You're exactly right. Stephen Baldwin.
Yes.
And that's why he's
Isn't
Justin D.
Stephen-
That's why Haley and Justin are together.
He
'Cause that's her daddy.
That's her daddy. That's right.
And shit. And if you realize when it's a ship, okay. When he can hardly talk, his mouth is numb. When
Oh, the baby.
He introduced Justin to her when they were like 12 years old. He brought
Dude,
her to a party to introduce her.
Bro, Braxy Jura, my Amy, she said, "Aaliyah, that girl was fucking groomed and horrible shit happened to her. Horrible."
I'm gonna jump off. My stepmom just walked in.
Yeah, okay. All right. I
I'll
love
talk to you
you.
soon.
Bye,
Love you
guys.
too. Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.